Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome. Thank you all for being here tonight. Just going to let other folks join in. Give it a moment. See some folks joining. We're going to give it another moment here. Let everyone join. We have a big audience tonight. Welcome to What Parents Can Do to Help with College Essays. We are very excited tonight to have our special guest speaker, Kim Lifton. And I am not Ginger Fay, as the slide up here says. Something happened when we screen shared it, lost the edit, but my name is Diana Cohen. I am with Appleruth Education and very excited to be hosting Kim tonight for our topic. Before we dive into tonight's content, just wanted to share a little bit about Appleruth. We are hosting the webinar tonight. And at Appleruth, our reason for showing up at work every day is because we believe in kids, and we believe that if you can change the way they think about themselves, if you can change their self-beliefs, you can change their lives. You get a kid to start believing that they can do something, and it's amazing how you see their skills grow in conjunction with that. So how do we bring that into the world? There are three particular areas where we work with students, where we're really focused on skill building and helping kids see what's possible. We do academic tutoring, all different subjects, almost all ages, from the middle grades all the way up through college. We do test prep, pretty much all the major standardized tests that you probably know about. This being a college essay webinar, I am sure that everyone on this one knows about the PSAT, SAT, and ACT. And we also do executive function coaching, helping students with the sort of process side of school. So, keeping things organized, planning out projects, making sure they turn in their assignments on time. There's a lot more to that than you might imagine. And we are very excited about our annual summer sale. We are offering huge savings on SAT and ACT prep, also PSAT prep, and I know that many on this webinar are rising seniors. And so hopefully some of you have already finished up your prep, but if you haven't, summer is prime time to get that done. And so this is a great time to save. Similarly, for rising juniors, we highly recommend that you start now. And that's why we offer savings to help everyone get a start, get those better scores, and save while you're at it. So we encourage you to reach out, schedule a call with one of our program advisors, and learn how you can save on SAT, ACT, and PSAT prep. Okay, Kim, I will let you jump in and take over with the topic for tonight. A few quick housekeeping things. If you have questions, put them in the Q&A and we will address them at the end. And there should be, you can click also on captions at the bottom. There should be an icon for that. If you would like to have captions while this is going, we will record the webinar and share it out at the end. Thanks so much, everybody. Kim, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, today is June 6th, and we have the lovely Diana Cohen with us from Appleruth, and not Ginger Fay, but something happened in the translation here that is so out of our control. Anyway, my name is Kim Lifton. I'm president of WOW Writing Workshop, and we are a national, international college essay training and coaching company. We train consultants who work with students like you all over the country, and we also work with students. So I'm here tonight to tell parents what you can do to help your child with the college essay. And it's a perfect time to do this because it's June 6th, and either your children just got out of school or they're about to get out of school. And if they are juniors, it could be getting a little bit stressful in your household. Correct? Let's see if it raises hands. Let's raise your hands if you guys are feeling any stress. See, a lot of that, Diana. Okay, let's move forward. Next slide. Okay, so tonight, actually, we're going to talk about how parents can help. I'm going to give you our top 5 list, and give you some resources at the end. If you please stick around to the end, and I'm going to give away a free book. We have a new book that we just updated, and it's got a foreword in it from Sean Felton, who's the executive director of undergraduate admissions at Cornell, and he's the guy you want to like your essay. So we're going to give away that, and then I will answer your questions. Okay, next slide. Okay, so first, let's talk about how you can help. There's so much stuff going on right now in the world of essays and the world of admissions. Like we're waiting with bated breath to find out how the Supreme Court is going to rule on the Supreme Court decision over race-based admissions, which could have some changes to the college essay, changes to how they do admissions in general. And there's a lot of stuff going on that we just don't know. But what we do know is that we need to stay calm. Moms and dads just need to stay calm. And there's always going to be something happening. There was COVID. Now there's ChatGPT. There's always something that is going on in the world that people get distracted by. And somehow it just comes out in this college essay. I don't know, maybe it's the one place where people are just really scared. And you don't have to be. And your children should not even consider using ChatGPT to write a college essay, to try to brainstorm, to find topics. You don't even need to go there. That wasn't the intent of it. Just say no. But how you can help is you can teach your child to reflect. When I say that, I'm talking about a conversation that goes way, way beyond, hey, honey, take out the trash. Be really, really positive. And tell your child what you like about them. Think about those traits and characteristics that you notice. Does your child take the trash out for the little old lady next door? It just does it because. What does that show about your child? So you tell them, this is what I like about you. What do your friends say about you? Teach them and just continue this whole summer. Just talk to them about what you like about them. And there's no downside to telling your children what you like about them. So I'm a mom. I know it really goes a long way. Don't tell them what to write. When they're writing their college essays, please don't tell them what to write. Don't tell them that colleges prefer one topic over another. Don't tell them that colleges like a certain trait. Those are all myths. Just be supportive. It's got to come from within the child, and it's all up here in the head. Be a cheerleader, not a coach. Important. And whenever you have the opportunity, encourage your child to trust themselves. Just tell them every opportunity, trust yourself, trust yourself, trust yourself. That is so key. And if you're going to get them the right kind of guidance, if you're going to get them any guidance, make sure it's the right kind of guidance. We are all about ethical essay coaching. You won't find one word in any kid's essay that we have helped with that sounds like our coaches, not our ideas. We get our egos right out of it. We have a process. It's easy to follow. I'm going to tell you more about it tonight, but that is it. And you have to make sure that you're not working with somebody who tells them what words to use, who tells them what stories to write, who gives them so much information that may be false. And stay calm. When you're calm, your whole house can be calm. And I know that's hard. I know it's hard, but do your best to stay calm. Okay, next. So I want to pose this. Okay, what if, just think about that. What if everything that you think you know right now, tonight, while you're here with Diana and me, about the college essay is wrong? I want you to consider that. The articles you read on the web, the blogs, the webinars that you see, the information that you get. I had a parent tell me last week that one Ivy League school required 30 essays. 30 essays. Said that a high school counselor told her that. Now, I know that's wrong. And I don't really think that the counselor said that. but that was what this person heard. So you got to be really, really, really careful about what you hear and where you go to get the information. We spend a lot of time talking to admissions to get the information straight from the source so that we can share it with you, deliver to you. And there is nobody out there who knows more than what we know. There are people who know stuff about the college essay, but nobody knows more. And we go out of our way to make sure it's accurate. And you just need to be really careful that you do your research and get accurate information. So a lot of it's wrong. It's out of context. At best, it's out of context. Okay, let's go. Next one. So here are some of the myths. Back to the theme, what if everything's wrong? And this is just some things that I pulled this year. These bullets are always there, but I've been hearing a lot that colleges look for 5 specific traits in college essays. So this comes in different forms. They look for 3 specific traits. They look for 9 specific traits. But the key here is that if anybody tells you that colleges look for any number specific traits in a college essay, it's wrong. Every single Friday, I reach out to a new admissions person. They don't, that's how I get information. I have relationships with them. I've talked to hundreds of them, and I have never, ever heard any of them say that I am looking for this trait in a college essay. That means leader. They're not looking for leaders in the college essay. They're not looking for people who are resilient in the college essay. They want to know something about your child that they can't find out from the rest of the application. They want them to answer the prompt. They want to learn something about them, something meaningful about them. And I'll get into some more specifics in a little bit. The other myth is that the essay must be perfect. Again, this is wrong. My favorite essays are perfectly imperfect. I say, people don't write perfectly, right? Students don't write using perfect grammar and perfect syntax. It has to sound like that voice, that genuine voice of your child. And 17-year-olds are not expected to be perfect. The other one that's wrong is that impressive topics stand out. Let's talk about this for a minute. What stands out? Your child is going to stand out. The subject of the college essay is critical. The topic's important, but the subject is critical. And we always start our students with, we call it step 1, understand the prompt. So before they even go to the topics and start thinking about what they want to write about, we make absolutely sure that every single student understands what colleges are asking and why. And they don't start getting into specific topics until they've decided what the traits and characteristics are that are important to them. So the topic's not impressive, but your child is. And every single one of them has something to say and something to offer. And that's what's important. And the essay should be focused on at best, at its core, it's all about reflection. And the other, my favorite one, is people say, just don't write about sports. I don't really care if your child anchors a story around sports. Let's say you have a daughter who has been swimming for 8 years. You don't think she's going to have some trait that she can feature in a story anchored around something that happened during swimming, before swimming, in the locker at swimming, in a conversation with somebody around swimming? It's okay. It's fine, because most students do the same. More students do the same things than not. So, of course, any topic will do, as long as the story answers the prompt, showcases a trait, at least one trait or characteristic about the student, and is reflective, focused, meaningful. That's it. It's not as hard as you may think. All right, let's move on. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about how we do things at WOW. Not too much. If you want some more, I'll give you my contact information at the end. You can contact me, ask me questions, whatever you want. we have a 10-step process. And after this slide, I'll show you a little illustration so you can see our 10 steps. But we start with content first. We have 6 steps of our process that are just focused on getting content, generating content, honing in, just, getting that content solid. And then we go to the content plus structure. And then we don't even think about the polished stuff, which is what a lot of parents talk about. They worry about the grammar, they worry about the spelling. That we don't even think about that until they get to like step 9 of the process. And a lot of it works itself out. But let's go on to the next slide where I can show them what our 10 steps are. Wonder if that, anyway, so we have 10 steps. And the first one, as I already kind of told you, is understand the prompt. Every single essay that a student writes with us starts with understand the prompt. Step 1. It just makes sense, right? Not the topic. A lot of your children, a lot of the conversations you've likely had have been about topics. What could I write about? What could I write about? And the answer you can give your child is write about yourself. Focus on you, the subject, not the topic. And once you understand what they're looking for, what colleges are looking for in an essay, it's easier to see it. So we created this process. We're writers, we're teachers. We created a process specifically for the personal statement. And we use this to, when we're working with students on supplements as well. But this was designed for this. We apply the principles of this method to everything we do. It's a process that was built by writers. It's simple. Not one of these steps. Your child is never going to spend 8 hours writing anything through this process. Like step 1, understand the prompt. Step 2, brainstorm for ideas. We give the students a lot of pre-work before they start working with us. And they go into an online system, they complete some pre-work, and they really understand the prompt before they even sit down to write down ideas. And then they meet with a coach, and we help them clarify the ideas, focus on a theme, because every single essay be effective. We use the word effective, not great, not fabulous, not stand out. We do use stand out, but what they want is something effective. And to be effective, it has to answer these 2 questions. What happened? What happened is the story. What are you going to tell me, right? And then why does it matter? Why are you telling me the story? What is it that you want me to know about you as the admissions person? And there's small steps with a lot of simple instructions so that anybody can succeed using this method. And it takes about 4 weeks, top to bottom, 3.5 weeks. Okay, next slide, please. So the secret, the wow secret is we have this process, airtight. We have a plan so we can map out everything that the student needs to do from beginning to end. And we give them schedules. So to finish the first essay, which is the teaching essay, takes about 3.5 to 4 weeks. And then we'll build custom schedules for supplements. We do work with students only on the Common App. And then we have different structures, different programs, different things that people can buy. But we do have a program that focuses just on the Common App, and then we give the students everything they need to write any kind of essay for all their schools as part of this package. So process, plan, schedule. That is our signature. Okay. Next slide, please, Miss Diana. So now I'm going to go through our wow top 5, and I want to come back to everything you think you know about the college essay is wrong. And I'm going to say that because people tend to think that there are best and there are worst college essay topics, and there really are not. Okay, so Kim Bryan, who's been at the University of Michigan forever, she's a friend of mine. She always says, students talk ad nauseum in great detail about sports injuries. What I really want to know is, what did you learn from it? Can you do your sport any longer? And she says it's okay. You can write about that, right? And then you can write about a certain topic, whether it be summer camp or athletic experience. But if you spend all your time talking about a singular event, the colleges don't know a lot about you as a student. So there's no best or worst topic. It's a myth to think there is. And as I said earlier, the topic is important, but more important is a reflection on the topic and you. So anything that illustrates the traits and characteristics that your child wants to share with the college and answers the prompt, shows a healthy respect for the rules of written English, yay, that's your best topic. And the worst topic is the one that does not illustrate a trait or traits, does not answer the prompt. And remember, the essay is not about an experience, a person your child admires, a favorite sport, National Honor Society, but it's about what did the student take away from any experience? Did they learn something? How did it affect them? Did it change them? Did it open your child's mind to new things? So any topic will do, including the most controversial ones that people talk about. Can you write about mental health? Yes, if it fits into these categories. And here's something that we've been focusing on a lot this year. And we say that it's a place to reflect and not report. So if your child had a bad experience and decides, I want to tell colleges about it, all they're doing is reporting. But if they can reflect on it, if they've had enough time to process it, yay. Because this really isn't the place to process emotions and to process feelings. It's a place to share something that they have already reflected on. And the reflection does not have to be that deep. Okay, let's move on to the next one. What do admission counselors look for? How can your child stand out? So again, a lot of the things you hear they're looking for isn't quite true. I'm going to say out of context. I like to tell people it's wrong, but it's really out of context because people take bits and pieces of all the stuff that they read and throw it together as if it's a fact. So I was on a panel with an admissions person from Columbia University who said, what we really want is to know that you can think. We believe, like at Columbia, that their freshman comp class is going to teach them how to write. And they just want to know how you think. And others say, like, don't get caught in the what do we want to hear trap, because the essay's about what you want to say, what you want to tell them. And a woman from UC Berkeley, she was the head person, but she's retired, so I'm not going to even say her name, but she said something that I remember this always. What would you tell me if I met you in an elevator? And if you tell your child that and they think of it that way, it's short, it's sweet. What is it you want them to know? So in this book that I'm going to give you all a link to get a free copy of later tonight, How to Write an Effective College Application Essay, the Inside Scoop for Students. Sean Felton, the executive director of admission from Cornell University, wrote a foreword, and he talks about what they're looking for. And it's really nice. I mean, he wrote a lot of nice stuff about us, but let me tell you something that he said that will be helpful. He said, let me be blunt. There's a lot of stuff out there on the internet, books, webinars about college essays, and some of it may be helpful, but so much of it is out of context, is what I said, or inaccurate. And it can be hard to tell the difference. So you have to be really, really careful. And despite what you believe, I don't have something specific in mind when I review essays. I don't know what I want to read. But I do want you to reflect to the best of your ability in your answer to any prompt, so I can get to know you a little better as I review your application. And he goes on to say, to succeed and write an effective essay, which is the real goal, you'll have to keep your story genuine, focusing on traits and characteristics that matter to you, only you, not to your high school counselor, mom and dad, or dad, older sibling, English teacher. Why are you telling me your story? What do you want me to know when I'm done reading? And what does that demonstrate about you? I've noticed that students spend too much time searching for stories they believe will make them sound different or unique. Please don't do that. It's a waste of your time. I don't want different. I don't want unique. I just want to know what makes you the person you are. I want to know what matters to you. I want to know what you care about. I want to know what you dream about. Now you guys know. It's a great quote, isn't it? All right, let's move on to the top 3. So how will colleges know if you fix the essay? Not as hard as you might think. Basically, and the updated version of this from the last time I did this presentation is that we're going to add ChatGPT to this conversation. It doesn't matter if an essay was written by ChatGPT, if a parent did it, if an education consultant, teacher, anyone other than the student got a hold of this and fixed it or wrote it, the voice is going to be different from the rest of your application. It is not going to match the application. And they may not know whether there was a bot writing it. They may not know who or what, but they can always tell. They can always tell. And I want to tell you the story about a student I had. His name was David. This was years and years and years ago. But he had written a first draft that was pretty good. And he was working on a second draft, and he brought it back to me. This was back in the days when we met people in person. And he showed it to me. And I read it, and I'm like, there was a whole section in there that didn't match. And I kept saying, David, like, seriously, this doesn't sound like you. And he kept saying, no, it's really good now. I said, it was really good before. Anyway, he finally fessed up, said his dad did it. And it really wasn't good. It actually ruined the essay. And he was open to revising and putting back his own words. But I can tell, Diana could tell, you could tell if somebody else wrote something. And someone, it's not that hard, because when there are different voices in an essay and one paragraph sounds different from another, and there are words that students don't use, it can sound either flat. So if ChatGPT does it, first of all, it's going to be wrong, because that's just taking information, putting in there. It'll have perfect sentences and structures, but it'll be boring, and it will not sound like a student. So, like someone trying too hard to give someone something they think they want. So that would be that. Okay, next up, Diana. So number 2. So what are the college essays do's and don'ts for parents? So as you can tell already, do not tell them to use ChatGPT. Please, 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 I beg of you. Okay, I'm sure there's something that will be amazing that will come from it. There's lots of applications, but this is never going to be one of them. Okay, personal statements, it can't do that. It can't think. Only your child can think. So you can help your child parse prompts. We help our students parse prompts, and you can discuss what they mean and what colleges want. And we do it, have them all in the book. So you can get the book and you can help them with that. We've got all the Common App prompts, and we give some examples of a lot of the supplements. You can brainstorm ideas with your child. I wouldn't go too far on that, because it's very hard for moms and dads to stay out of the, honey, remember that time you did this? That would be a good topic. So I'm not encouraging that, but I'm saying you can, if you really believe, you can be, neutral. So you can provide a brief overview of the essay's significance within admissions, and use the word opportunity whenever possible, and remind them that this is an opportunity, like if they start to get down. You can share the positive traits that you see in your child and start a conversation, and keep that conversation going, at dinner, in the car, wherever you are. And stay positive and be encouraging. Don't tell your child what prompt to select, because it doesn't matter. They don't like one more than the other. And don't tell them which trait you think they prefer in prospective students, because you don't really know, and colleges aren't looking for that. Don't tell them what to write, which topic you think will work best, or which words to use. Don't say the essay doesn't matter, or that admissions reps don't read them. They do matter, and they do read them. And don't be discouraging or negative. And the final answer is, don't write the essay for your child. Pretty please, no. Okay, last one, number 1. So how important is the college essay in a test optional environment? A lot of times people tell me that it's more important now. And I'd like to tell you that's true because my business depends on it, right? And I'm going to be honest because that's all I know. The college essay has been important for a long time. And at the more challenging it is to get into a school, the more significant the essay becomes. It is the one piece of the application that allows your student to share something meaningful with them beyond everything else they have. So it is an amazing opportunity. They read them, it helps. So there's no one college essay is going to get any of your children into college because it's not going to fix a lousy transcript. And the test optional environment has very little to do with the college essay. The apples and oranges. Colleges like data. They're going to get it somewhere. And they also like the holistic piece. So it's very important, and you're going to hear different things. So it doesn't matter ultimately. Your job as a parent is to tell your child that it matters and that they should take every opportunity to do a good job on every single one of them, not just the personal statement. They all have to be good, and your child should give their best effort. So the test isn't going away, which is good news for my friends at Appleroot because they're really good at test prep, but it's not going to go away. None of them are going to go away because they need data, and they're going to find a way to get it. So there you go. Let's move along. Next slide. Okay, so our gift to you. Oh, this is the old book. Oh, I'm so bummed, people. We have an updated book. This is what it looks like. The link is the same. It's just the wrong slideshow came up here, but much prettier, updated. So we're going to give each of you a free copy to the book, and just go to wowwritingworkshop.com free-student, and you can get your book. Next one. Again, see, I do this on purpose where I share the same messages because I want it to stick. I want you to remember this. Like, I was interviewed for a podcast and they said, what is your final message to students? And I said, I want you to trust yourself. To every one of your children, tell them you are ready. This is your journey. I can give you an example of a student who didn't trust himself, who came to me, told me that he didn't think he could write, even though he was like the sports editor of the newspaper. It didn't matter. And I said to him, can you think? And he goes, yeah, of course I can think. I said, then you can write. Oh, that's what he said. And he could write, and he did write. And through this process, he was able to find a meaningful story that actually, I do remember it. He was a hockey player, but he was afraid to write about sports. And here's an example of a case when you can. He said everybody knew. He was like a dude. Everybody knew he could play hockey, but there was one side of him that nobody knew because it was kind of private. So he had a cousin who had Down syndrome, and his cousin used to go to all his hockey games. And there was one game, I love the story, I'm going to cry. There's one game where the cousin was holding up a sign that said, go, go, go. I score. And he said he was down there on the ice, and all he wanted to do was score a goal for his cousin, Danny. It was the sweetest story I think I've ever read. And this was a story about compassion. This was a kid who was so compassionate. There was no way that they would have known this about him in any college. And what he did when he was working with me is he started to trust himself. He started to realize that it was really okay to share a story about being compassionate. And he got into like all the schools on his list, not because of his essay, but it helped him showcase who he was in front of the people who were making the decision. So tell your child, trust yourself. Okay, next slide. It is your turn, Diana.
Well, we're going to get into the Q&A because Kim does this webinar for us every year, and there's always a lot of parent questioning. So I'm going to jump to that. The last slide here was just showing again what we offer at Appleruth. And again, this I know is a college-bound high school age audience, and that sale that we are offering this month only on PSAT, SAT, and ACT prep is a great opportunity. The phone number is there. You can also schedule a Calendly appointment at appleruth.com/summer to meet with a program director and figure out the best program for your child. So we highly recommend that. But now let's get to the Q&A because I know parents always have a lot on this. So
Okay.
let's see here. Oh, and we're going to launch a poll in just a moment here as well, just so that we know for future reference what everyone's topics are and interests. And there is a place where you can enter in the poll as well if you would like a program director to reach out to you about our test prep program. Okay, so while parents are filling out the poll, the first question that we have here is, should the essay be written like a story? I really like this one. This is a great question. What do you think, Kim? Should it be written like a story?
Well, it is a story. I think, I mean, it should be written. There's no formula for how you should write it. And what I say is, like, you go through a process and it's a story. It emerges through the process of writing and revision. And if you think about the best things that you've read in your life, you read a book, you remember simple stories that are focused. So it should be a focused story, focused on you, focused on a trait. Like the small mundane moments really can stand out. You have, for the Common App, you have 650 words to tell colleges something meaningful about yourself. And the best way to do that is to tell a story about yourself. So that's a very good question. And thank you for asking it.
We have another question here about getting started when kids are just feeling very resistant to getting started or even talking about the essay. Do you have any tips there? I
For
know
getting
that's
started?
yeah, I know that's a very common issue that comes up.
I mean, students get all nervous because they spend a lot of time trying to come up with the perfect topic that they think is going to be unique or different from something somebody else does. And my friend Sean, the one you heard what he said, what he says is that, like, at best, students are more alike than they are different at age 17. They might do different things. They might get like better grades than another, but they're 17, and 17-year-olds, they sound the same. They don't sound the same. Their voices are different, but they use certain kinds of words when they talk to each other. They go to the same types of summer camps or summer programs. They tutor kids if they're in NHS, or they play sports. They volunteer through their churches and synagogues and mosques. They do a lot of the same kinds of activities. So it's just, I already forgot the question, Diana. Where was I? What was I thinking?
Tips for if a student is having a hard time
Oh,
getting
starting.
started.
So getting started, what we do is we say, understand the prompt. That's where you start. So look at the Common App. Try to figure out why they're giving you 7 questions. There's only 6 questions, and you don't even need number 7. You don't need to make one up. You can answer anything in the 6 that they give you. But they give you these questions. Why? So you have to understand, what are they asking you and why? And what they're asking you is to tell them something about yourself that they can't know from the rest of your application. That is what they're asking you. And the way to do that is to focus on what makes you tick. So what are the traits or the characteristics? And it's like one trait at least. You can have, there's always going to be more. but I'm saying you have to think about what are those traits that make you who you are. And then once you have that, you can brainstorm ideas because you're thinking about I'm resilient. I'm going to find 3 stories that showcase the time when I was resilient. That's how you do it. That's where you start. So you always start with understand the prompt.
And you
Okay.
actually started to answer the next question a little bit. You mentioned that, it could be one trait that the student is focusing on or more than one, but there is a parent who has specifically asked, like, should the essay focus on one trait that the student wants to have come across, or could it be more than one? Could it be 2 or 3?
Yeah, at least one. At least one. They're always 2 or 3. It's never just one. But it's a place to focus it. You want to feature something. So yeah. It's all
Okay.
about that theme. Every effective college essay has a theme, and the theme answers these 2 questions. One is what happened? What's the story you're telling? What's the experience? What's the thing? And then why does it matter? Why are you telling colleges this story? What is it you want them to know? And the why, it's not, I scored the winning goal. It's a trait or a characteristic. So, okay.
There's another question in here. In this specific example, the parent said that their child had the opportunity to grow up in 6 different countries. And I'm sure that there are other examples like that of special opportunities that children have had growing up. And the parent is asking, is it okay to write about those kinds of things, or do they run the risk of sounding, as this parent puts it, overprivileged in some ways?
Well, I guess what I would ask the parent is, does your child want to write about this? And if your child was working with me and said, I'm really interested in talking about growing up in 6 countries, I would, if that was on one of the ideas lists, I would start where the student started and go from there. I have no idea where it would go. But I'd say I don't know if this is something, I mean, anything is okay as long as it answers the question, is reflective, meaningful, focused. So your child is not going to write about living in 6 places. There's 650 words. That's not, what does your child want them to know from this? What did your child experience? How did it make your child who your child is today? And the story might be more current, more recent, but I don't know. So the answer is everything's a starting point, and yet be open and willing to be surprised. Does it make your child sound privileged? I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but I don't think living in all these places makes the student sound privileged. I just think that the child has to decide what they want them to know. And what do you want them to know? I lived in all these places, or wow, because of this, I do this today. So it's more complicated than that. But the answer is sure, bring it on. Your child can write about anything as long as there's a reason for it, as long as there's a why. And there's other places in the application for that information. So what else do we have here?
Another question about, I think this is like one of those like what if kind of worst case scenario questions, but it's a good one. And I'm sure one that's occurred to many parents. So what happens if the child submits an essay that just doesn't resonate with the admissions officers? They just don't really find it that, I guess, meaningful, like you said. What happens then?
Then they just read it and they're not affected by it, and it might not help you. I guess you don't want to write something that won't resonate. If it's important to you, then they will like it. If it showcases something meaningful about you, it will. So I'm not, whoever wrote this, I'd like to know exactly what you're trying to find out. If it'll, like what, it's too hypothetical. Like, I don't know, it's not specific enough for me to know how to really answer it. But it could, if it bores them, it doesn't mean your child's not going to get into college. You don't want to write something that isn't going to help.
Kim, I think what I hear you saying in response to this, and like you said, it's very hypothetical, but the question is on some level concerned about what will the admissions officers think? What are they interested in? What you're saying is shift the focus back to what does your student generally care about to write about?
Yeah.
And then it will resonate, or it will resonate with someone, right? Maybe not every person who reads it, but
Yeah,
it'll resonate with enough people.
but we never even, you'll never know. Like, so that's, I guess, yeah, I was trying to say exactly, focus on what you can focus on and don't spend too much time worrying about how they're going to react to it, because that's feeding into that myth that there's something they want to read and they don't know what they want to read. They want to learn something meaningful about your child. Thanks, Diana.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, I've had the privilege of hearing you give this presentation a few times, so I've learned from it over the years. Oh, I like this one. I feel like this is a position I might be in as a parent someday. What do you do when your child doesn't want you to know what they're going to write about in their essay? Is there any way for a parent to help in that situation?
You respect it. You respect it. Step away. That's what I tell parents. I think that's really important. If they want to write something and do it all about, and just turn it in, go for it. That's what I think. You can help by giving them information. You can share information. You can say, okay. You can also, I don't encourage parents to read them. I mean, we don't share our students' essays with parents. We strongly encourage the students to share them, and we give parents a guide for reading it so that you don't make your kids angry, or when the student says, I really like it, for mom and dad to say, oh, no, 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 this is not good. So we give suggestions. But if they say, I know it's hard, but I as a mom, I would say respect that, because sometimes I hear students say, I'm going to do it on my own. Okay, who can argue with that? Right? I did see a question here that you probably weren't going to ask, but I do want to answer it. It was somebody saying, how can you say, it was something like this, how can you say it should be genuine and written by the student when all these people are going for help? And okay, people come to me for help, people go all places for help. But what I didn't say you can't get help. I said you have to be careful about what kind of help you get, because we don't tell you what to write. We don't write essays for you. We basically give you instructions for doing this kind of writing. And it is all ethical. You have to make sure that it's ethical. But I thought that was I thought that was insightful. And I think that's a good point. And genuine is just if the way to not have a genuine essay is to cut and paste things that you read in books from other essays, to copy some structure that you think you like somewhere, to use ChatGPT, to have your friend help you to copy your big brothers. I mean, something like that. But yeah, you shouldn't ever work with anybody who's going to basically overdo it and help you too much. So anyway, what else do you guys have?
Kim, you've talked a lot about reflection and helping your child reflect. And I
Did.
love that. And it's hard. So I'm curious, do you have any recommendations,
Oh,
exercises, questions, things to help start that kind of conversation?
oh yeah. It's like you have a conversation with your child about what you like about them. You can tell them what traits that you can give them a specific example. Like, that's, I used an example, a student takes out the trash for a neighbor, just does it. The husband dies, they're old, and it's just, you notice that your son or daughter or child are just out there doing this all the time. And when you're talking to them, you point out, instead of saying, hey, go do your chores, you're saying, you know what? I just want to tell you, I think it's great that you're doing this for, Mrs. Smith. And you're really kind and compassionate. And you start there. I wish I could script it, but you just notice what your child is doing and find something that you like. I know that kids can drive us crazy, but we love them. Nobody's going to love them as much as you. So make a list of the traits and the characteristics that you see. Ask them, what do your friends like about you? What do you think? What do you like about yourself? And they'll answer, and it's going to be a great conversation because they're talking about themselves. And that's how you reflect. That's how you teach reflection. You can buy your child a journal and, give them prompts every day that you read from a writing book. I mean, it doesn't matter. But you can also just talk to them and get them started. That's how you get them started. And you can encourage them to talk to their friends. But I'd say just right now, mom and dad, you just start talking to them and focus on the positive things about them. What do you like? So if your child is this winning athlete, you know, tell them that you really respect the fact that they work so hard, and then point out other times and other places where they work hard, and just get a conversation going. I really think that when we talk to our children about good things about them, they do talk. So even though they're 17. So
Figure out the secret to getting teenagers
yeah.
to talk, huh?
And and we have some tips in the book, and I'm giving it to everyone. So,
Great.
Right.
Great. Well, unless there's another one after this, I'll wrap with this question because I think it is important to clarify this. It's asking if you encourage students to use ChatGPT to help with the essay. Obviously, we don't want it to use ChatGPT to write the essay, but do you have any other further comments on that?
Just that, no, I don't encourage students to use ChatGPT to help in any way, shape, or form with the college essay. ChatGPT is a bot. A bot cannot think. I don't see any way that it can help you. Even if I've heard this, well, I can start it, I can do some brainstorm. Well, you can't brainstorm with it. You can ask it for questions about brainstorming, but you don't need it. And by the time you are done spending time playing around with this Chat GPT, you could have been done with your whole essay. Even if you started, if you have it write something and then you start revising it to make it sound more like you are wasting so much time. Just start at the beginning. You need a process, structure, schedule. Write it. It's going to be a lot faster to follow a process that takes 3.5 weeks than to try to cut and paste and pull apart and make it sound like you. It's not a great tool. And it was not designed for this. So you don't need it. It can't think. And I always say, I don't want to live in a world where a robot where it can think. That's so scary to me. But it doesn't mean it can't be used in the classroom. But it can't be used to reflect on your life experiences. It can't be. It's not possible. And I hear people talk about it. I hear people say, well, maybe you can use it for this, or maybe you can use it for that. I'm just going to say don't use it because that's the best advice you can possibly think of. And it's not going to deliver to colleges what they want. You don't need it. Trust yourself. Your brains are amazing. I've never, ever had a student who couldn't do this. Amaze yourself. Be willing to be surprised. You can, all your children, everybody can do this.
Kim, I think that's a great message for us to close on, that, you've worked with hundreds and hundreds of kids and you've never seen one who can't do it, because it's true. I think there's a lot of belief about like, oh, this isn't my kid's thing, or my kid's not a writer, or they don't have the right topic or the right experience, but
right. There's
given
no
the
right.
opportunity, they all have something to say.
They do. So that's all, folks. I mean, if there's Diana, you have to do your last slide.
I did already before we
Done.
went to your Q&A. So we're
So
ready to wrap here. So
we are, but I want to tell them how much I love Appleroot too, because my daughter was having trouble in physics when she was in high school, and she had an awesome Appleroot tutor. So there's my plug. And it was a long time ago, and I still love them. And we do this a lot, and it's good to be back with you, Diana. And if anybody has any questions, you can email me at kim@wellwritingworkshop.com. And if anybody's in the market for an essay coach, we'd love to talk to you. There's no fee for talking. Anyway, thank you, thank you, thank you. Good luck to you and your children, and don't get too stressed.
Thanks for being here
Not
tonight,
worth it.
Kim.
Thank you, Diana.
Good night,
Talk to you
everybody.
soon.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay.